Steve, I last spoke to you on Nera Farm roughly only 3 weeks ago. Since our last interview, you have some interesting news and developments with the campaigning of Into the West. Can you tell our listeners, Steve, what is this big news yourselves and Into the West have that only came out in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so we've launched an ambitious new concept for a better connected region, which is called Metro Northwest. When you say Metro, people instantly think, London Underground, New York Subway, maybe even the Luas in Dublin, but it's not like that at all. It's a much more simpler proposition. And what it does, it takes the existing rail that we already have in the Northwest, which stretches from Derry to Coleraine and then up to Portrush. It expands that in ways that have already been agreed in the All-Ireland Rail Strategy, and that's bringing rail back to Letterkenny, Strabane and Omagh and Limavady. And then it enhances that expanded network by adding in some new stations, some of which are already under discussion and have already had feasibility studies done, and some of which are new proposals we think are sensible ways to fill gaps in the expanded network. So it takes the existing, it expands it in ways that are already agreed, and it enhances it, some of which have already been investigated and some of which are new. And then it just ties a ribbon around all of that of a brand called Metro Northwest to create a meaningful sub-regional network. So the idea is that this would be branded up as a sub-regional network called Metro Northwest that would work on the same tracks as other trains, would work alongside other trains. This is not a standalone network at all. It's largely a branding exercise, but it would also mean something. So what would Metro Northwest mean? What would the user experience be? And, in our view, this should be the way it is for all trains, but certainly for Metro Northwest, there should be services every 30 minutes, 7 days a week, up until, from 7 a.m. until at least 11 p.m. You should be able to tap in, tap out for payments. So, sort of pay as you go, just turn up their card and go in and out that way. If you do get a ticket, you should have the ability to have integrated ticketing between buses and the trains. So bus timetables should talk to the train timetables. Buses should turn up and leave at the same time as the trains do to feed in. And also you should be able to buy a ticket on the bus, which also works for the train. So you should be able to get on the bus in somewhere like, say, Manor Cunningham, which is very close to Letterkenny, and buy a ticket to get you to Omagh. And then that will run you all the way through both the bus and the Metro network as well. And then the last two user experiences are enhanced cycle provision. This is all about the first and the last mile. How do you get to the railway station and how do you get away from there at the other side? And we want to enable more people to do that by bicycle. And then finally, longer term, the network should be electrified. That's the way all rail is going anyway. But it means cleaner, quieter, and faster journeys as well. So that's the sort of the branding and the user experience aspect. But overall, it's basically taking what exists and expanding it in ways that have already been agreed, enhancing it in ways which we think are sensible, and certainly some of them have already been investigated and hopefully will progress, and then putting this branding around it so that it becomes meaningful for people.
Yeah, when I first heard of your idea, I saw you mention it on Facebook. I thought it was going to cost a fortune, but it's not much difference than what was already proposed by yourselves, isn't it?
Yeah, the big expensive stuff is expanding lines, and that's already recommended in the All-Ireland Rail Strategy. So bringing rail back to Tyrone and Donegal is already happening. It's happening far too slow for our liking, and we hope Metro Northwest proposal can help move that along. But it's already agreed that rail should be linked between Derry and Portadown, which would bring it back to Strabane and Omagh. It's already agreed that rail should go to Letterkenny. So those are the big things. Opening new stations will cost money. It will cost millions, not vast sums. But to have good quality stations with park and rides and everything else, you depending on how extensive a station could just basically be a halt. It could just basically be a bus stop with a very large car park next to it. Because people don't need to hang around there very long, especially if it's tap in, tap out. So you don't need, a ticket seller or even a machine. But there will obviously be some cost in the branding. We'll also need some extra trains to have services every half hour across the entire Metro Northwest network. We'll require, more rolling stock. But those are not insanely expensive things. We're not talking, billions, which opening lines can be, depending on how far they go. So it's certainly less expensive than you would think. And what's what's really good about this idea, I don't want any of your listeners to think we're geniuses and we've come up with this interesting idea. All we've done is taken what they're already doing at the moment in Wales and in Cornwall in England, and we've nicked it. We've nicked the idea, because very often the best things are what other people are already doing, and you take it and you localise it for your area. So the Welsh Government last year introduced 3 metros in Wales, and they're basically similar propositions. They've got one in North Wales, one in South West, and one in South Wales. Now, South Wales one is around Cardiff, and Cardiff's a big city. But North Wales, the largest city on the North Wales Metro network, is Wrexham. Wrexham has a population of 65,000 people, so it's much smaller than Derry. And then after that, you're into towns like Rhyl and Colwyn Bay, which are about the size of Coleraine and Letterkenny. So, if it works in North Wales, it can work for us. And Cornwall is a great example. The entire county of Cornwall has fewer people living in it than the northwest of the island does. There's 500,000 people in Cornwall. Their largest town has the population slightly bigger than Letterkenny, of about 25,000. Yet they're doing the similar thing there. And again, what they're doing is they're looking at the real network they already have. They're looking at ways that it should be expanded that makes sense. They're putting in new stations, and then they're doing the whole user experience stuff. They're increasing frequency. They're doing tap in, tap out, and then they're branding it all together. So if you go to Wales at the moment, if you're up in North Wales or something like that, you will see the North Wales Metro is a meaningful thing, but it runs alongside and on the same tracks as the other existing rail. So we've basically taken an idea which works elsewhere, and if it can work in Cornwall with its small towns of 25,000 people, there's no reason at all why it couldn't work in the northwest of this island.
You're actually waiting to hear back from the Northern Ireland Executive in the not too distant future on all your proposals, are you?
Yeah, so we meet regularly with the network provider, TransLink, who is the equivalent of Transport for Ireland, really, in the north. They're the organisation who run the trains and the buses. So we meet with them regularly, and we discuss with them various proposals. Now, some aspects of what we're asking for are in the pipeline, and we've been pushing for quite a while in terms of some new stations on the network, and we're hopeful there'll be some news about those in the coming months, because feasibility studies have been done, etc. But, this will be an ongoing process. We've launched this as a concept. We will continue, putting it in front of councils, politicians, ministers continually, and making the case for this alongside all our other rail stuff. So those conversations are ongoing and will continue. And they'll take time. A lot of this is just sort of slowly persuading the powers that be, but there is sense in this idea. And in particular, we have a real problem with rail in the north because they're trying to do 2 things with the same piece of rail, and it doesn't work. They're trying to have sort of long distance journeys where, for example, you can get on a train in Derry and go to Belfast. And they're also using the same line for local services where the train stops every, 10 minutes. And the 2 things conflict with each other because somebody who's going all the way from Derry to Belfast wants to do that journey as quick as they can. Whereas the more stops you put in along the routes, the slower the whole thing gets. So that's why we think the Metro Northwest proposal makes sense. That can be like your localised network for all the stops. And then that means the existing brand of Northern Ireland Railways can be the longer distance stuff. And the 2 can work alongside each other, so they can alternate every half an hour. It could be, the longer distance fast one, and then in between it could be the Metro localised network. So I guess it's trying to get the authorities to acknowledge that problem that we see. And we've seen it for a long time, and it's about trying to find a solution to that. But we'll keep having the discussions. We'll keep meeting with them. There's a public transport task force meeting next month with the council. That'll be the next step. And we'll just keep pushing the idea forward.
You started a series of public meetings this week, didn't you, Steve?
Yeah, so we had one on Monday in Derry and last night, Wednesday, in Letterkenny. Next week we're in Strabane on Monday, we're in Omagh on Thursday, and then the following week we're in Coleraine on the Wednesday and Limavady on the Thursday. So we're just putting the idea in front of ordinary people. We're doing a lot of press work, a lot of media work around it all. I'm just asking people to come along, see what they think. We're making the bigger case for rail. Most of those areas I mentioned don't have rail. Coleraine does, Derry does, but Derry in particular needs a lot of improvements. Limavady, Strabane, Letterkenny and Limavady don't have rail, but the All-Ireland Rail Strategy agrees that they should. So part of this about it is as well as trying to get people locally to understand that, to believe that it's going to happen, and to work with us to ensure it can be expedited. But so we're really looking forward to putting the idea in front of people. We've had 2 meetings so far; they've gone really well, good crowds. good interest. A lot of people joining us up as members. So yeah, it's been going well. The roadshow will keep on going, and then we'll probably do some more roadshows later towards the summer in some other places as well. Just spreading the news and evangelizing, really.